everyone, welcome back to my channel. Obviously today is now, well, it would be Thursday, but I'm filming this actually on Friday, which is the day you're seeing this, because I really didn't film anything yesterday. So I also thought of, oh, I need to film my November TBR and what I read in October. So that is going to be today's video. I'm also going to be the final daily vlog of this week, because this weekend is actually starting today, is the Thrill Till Halloween readathon, and I'm actually going to be doing a reading vlog for that with the book that I mentioned on my Instagram. So I am going to be filming that from today until Sunday, Monday, and then it'll go up. It should be up on Monday sometime, the whole reading vlog. So today will be the final of the daily vlogging for a little while, because I think I'm going to come back for Vlogmas, but with the daily vlogs. But I am going to be posting videos throughout November, just not every single day. Also, can we have an honorable mention for this sweater? I don't know if you'll be able, you can't really see it, but it says this is my Hallmark movie watching shirt, and it has like a little truck and tree on it. And obviously the Christmas movies for Hallmark have come out, so I am allowed to wear this shirt. But anyways, that is the shirt that I'm wearing today, and I have like a cute little background set up. So I really like the vibes right now. I feel it's very like a mix between October and November, like Thanksgiving, Halloween vibes behind me. So anyways, so for October, I actually ended up being able to read 10 books in October, which is like amazing for me, because like I actually read 17 books. I still cannot believe I read 17 books in 1 month. It's like wild to me. But I did that in like the summertime, and then I got into a really bad reading slump, and then I jumped into reading again and actually wanting to read book after book after book, which ended up me being able to read 10 books this past month. So obviously we're still in kind of October, because we still have until Monday for October, but I am reading a couple of books that I'll post my reviews on my Instagram once I finish them. But I still have a few left for the month, but this is what I have read so far this month. The first book that I read for October was The Clackety. This book was raved about so much by Keisha from A Book Like You, and she said it gave Coraline vibes, and Coraline is one of my favorites, so I had to pick this book up, but it took forever for me to get the book, and I finally picked it up, and I finally read it, and once I got it, I like literally could not figure out when I wanted to read it. And then when the spooky middle grade readathon came out, in the beginning of October, I ended up reading it for, oh no, I was going to read it for that, and then I read this before, and then I read a different book for that readathon for the, like the spooky building on the front of the cover. So this book, I feel like it was overhyped, and I don't want to be like, I feel like people would take that like in a bad way. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really thought it was going to be a 5-star read for me. However, I gave it 4 stars because it had a good like creativeness to it and storyline to it, but there was like one specific thing, and I'm just going to say it in this video, because maybe by the time, if you're watching this and you don't want spoilers, then I would pass this like little snippet. But I am going to say why I gave it 4 stars, because there's like, she keeps talking about her parents being missing and thinking that they're gone, and then her aunt that she lives with that actually ends up going missing, and she's going to look for her in the book. She keeps saying like, oh, there's something tied to this building, like I need to go and figure out what it is. And I was expecting the ending to be the aunt with her parents, and like she being like, well, this is the reason why I went into this house and had to go save them from this thing, because I knew that they were here, but I didn't want to tell you so that you would follow me and like be trapped in here as well with us. So she wanted to go and do it by herself. That's what I thought the book was going to be like, and it wasn't. And I was telling as I was reading it, I was like, you know what, if her parents do not show up, it is getting 4 stars for me, but if they do show up, it will get 5 stars, and obviously they didn't show up, so I gave it 4 stars. So that is the whole thing of why I gave it 4 stars, and I feel like that's a very valid reason. I don't know, because she hyped up being able to like see her parents again so many times, and then it never happened. And I was just like, okay, that was like irrelevant to the story to me, because I would have liked the story to end with her finding them, and she didn't. So those are the spoilers. If you didn't watch, if you hadn't read the book, then sorry, I just spoiled the whole book for you, but whatever. But anyways, that was that book. And then the next book I read was Garlic and the Witch. This book is a series. I've talked about Garlic and the Vampire, which is the first one. This one was so cute. I had to give it 5 stars. I am obsessed with this graphic novel series. I usually am not a graphic novel person. I much prefer like middle grade books, kind of like the Clackety. So this book, like I said, I gave it 5 stars. It was so cute. I loved it so much. And I just like how the author of these books puts into perspective of like anxiety and like just scaredness of things, and like not feeling confident in yourself and all that type of stuff into little vegetable people. It is the cutest thing ever, and it really like is a good book to read for anybody that struggles with anxiety or just not feeling confident in yourself and things like that. So I would highly recommend this series. The next book that I read was Disappearing House. This was just another one that Keisha from A Book Like You mentioned a lot in her videos, and also the first book that this author, Ali Malinicchio, I don't know how to say her last name, but she wrote Ghost Girl, which I absolutely loved that book. And the ending had me crying my eyes out. I was so sad because it hit me right in the feels. And I was like, I love this author. I need to pick up her next book. And again, this book got 5 stars for me because the writing style and like the way that she wrote her words. Like, I read the author's note at the end of the book, and it mentioned her going through a similar thing that the character did. In this book, she went through cancer as a child, but she was only like, I think like 10 or 11 when the book is like written, like the character in here, and I forgot what her name is, but she, I think she was 7 when she got diagnosed with cancer as a child, and then when it was like the 5-year, it would be like 11 years old, the 5-year anniversary of her being diagnosed, and she comes along this house, and the house has all these like hauntings to it and things like that makes her think of like all of her past trauma from being diagnosed with cancer. And the way that she just wrote this and interpreted what a child would go through having to deal with that is like incredible, like the way that she wrote this. And I applaud her for this book because it is just an amazing way to interpret the feelings that someone would go through in any type of trauma. It doesn't even have to be like a medical reason. It could be just any type of trauma, going through and having to relive your like past experiences, and fighting through, like getting through all of that, and then coming out on the other side of like, okay, this is me now, I'm past all my past trauma, that kind of thing. It is an incredible read. I would highly recommend it. And I also read The Goals of Howell Fair, and I gave this book 2 stars because it just was not what I was expecting. It was not good. The storyline was very slow, and it kind of felt repetitive to me in ways, and I don't know, I just didn't really like it, so I'm not going to say much about it because it just was not my favorite book. And like where it was set at in like the UK and stuff was really cool to me because I love anything that's set in the UK, but it just was not the book for me. And then the next book that I read was the Hocus Pocus illustrated version, and oh my gosh, obviously I gave this 5 stars because I do have a cat named Pocus. I'm obsessed with Hocus Pocus. It got a 5 stars from me, obviously. I've like literally watched the movie, I think like 3 or 4 times just this year alone, and like within like the last like couple of weeks, I think I watched it like earlier this year, and then I watched it I think like 2 or 3 times in just this month of October. Like I've watched it so much. and I've like come to realize that I like already know like every single word to this movie. It is that movie is probably second to me knowing every word to She's the Man. So those are my two movies that, like, if you watch that with me, I'm just going to repeat everything that they're saying because I know it by heart. But obviously this book, and one thing that I loved about this was that you got a lot of backstory that you don't get in the movie, which I was happy that I thought it was going to be straight from the movie of what like how the movie storyline was, and no like extra-ness to it, and it gave that to me. It gave me backstory on Emily. It gave me backstory on Max before he moved to California, and like how he was as a kid from when they lived in California, and like his friend group and stuff. And then it gave you backstory a little bit on the witches. It was really, really good, and I would recommend getting this and reading it, even though you probably have watched the movie like 10,000 times. And then I started reading books on my iPad, which is kind of like my Kindle right now. I really want to get a Kindle because I've read where the screen is better for your eyes, and then just like something more lightweight, like a book, instead of it being like my heavy iPad. I really want to get a Kindle soon. But I read The School for Good and Evil because I've had this on my TBR for a year or two. Whenever everybody was raving about the book on BookTube, I was like, okay, I need to read this book, and then I just never read it. And then when Netflix came out with the movie, which I also have not watched yet because it is almost 3 hours long, I read the book, and it was just so long of a book. It was only like 230 pages, but it felt like 530 pages. Like, it was so long and drawn out to me, and I ended up giving it 2 stars just because the ending was just not, I don't know, I just didn't really I liked the fairy tale-ness and the creativeness of it, but I just didn't really like some parts of it. It was just not my favorite. I just really didn't like the storyline. I don't know, I just didn't really care for it as much as I thought I was going to. And the next book that I read was Juniper Berry, and this book I think was mentioned again by Keisha from A Book Like You in one of her spooky middle grade recommendation videos. And this one I also gave 2 stars because I gave it at least 2 stars because of the creativeness, but 3 stars from me is like a middle thing. Like, I would totally reread it if I wanted to, but it wasn't like the best, but I would reread it, you know. But this one I probably would never reread again. I just didn't really I felt like that it was a drag-on type of book, and I don't know how to explain this book, but it was just very weird and made no sense to me half the time, and it was just like all over the place. I don't know, I just don't really have much to say on it. And then I read Cackle, which has been a huge book that everybody has been raving about lately for the fall time, and I gave it 4 stars because this book was so well written. I actually ended up annotating, highlighting a lot of the things in the book because there were so many references to Taylor Swift songs. Some of her lyrics were in there, and the things that they said. But this book was so cute, and it had a good mixture of witches and small town vibes, and just the fall time, and it was just very all around cute and fun. But it has some creepy moments to it too, and little random ways. But so it had a good bit of everything that you would want in a fall book. It had your witches, it had the creepy vibes, it had the small town cozy vibes, it had everything, and it had spiders and different things like that. And then I also read A Pumpkin and a Patch, and this one was another 4-star read for me. It was kind of like if Verity by Colleen Hoover was a Hallmark movie, and I feel like nobody will understand what I'm talking about when I say that, but basically the girl is a writer, and there's a writer in Verity, and it's she falls in love with somebody that she's not supposed to, and same thing happens in this book where it's a enemies to lover type of vibe, and it's a super cute fall. Her family owns a pumpkin patch, and they have a whole thing during the fall time with games and hay rides and haunted houses and like all the whole different like pumpkin patch vibes. And she's also a teacher, but she's also a writer in a way. Like she wrote a book when she was little and then it came back to haunt her. So it's almost kind of very similar to the DCOM Read It and Weep, where her diary gets let out. So it's a mixture of that as well. And it's a really cute book. I would highly recommend reading it. And then the final book that I read so far for October is Daybreak on Raven Island. And the author that wrote this, Fleur Bradley, she also wrote Midnights at Barclay Hotel, or Midnight at Barclay Hotel. And it was like basically if an adult murder mystery was in like a middle grade book, if that makes sense. And it was a really cute way of doing a murder mystery, and it had like spookiness to it and like different things like that. But this book was her second book that came out, and it was set on an island very similar to Alcatraz, but it was called Raven Island instead of the Alcatraz prison island. But it was like that type of vibe. And there's also another murder mystery in it, and there's like a whole another, like if you read the first book, they're not connected, but they're very similar the way that she wrote these books. But there is a twist to it, and I kind of thought I figured out the twist before. I was like, okay, this vibe is giving me this, and this is happening with this, so I know this is gonna happen. I don't want to give anything too much away because it is such a good book. I would highly recommend it. I would probably, if I didn't have so many other things going on, I would have definitely read that book in one day because it was such a quick read and super fast, and the chapters were like 1 page long each. Like they were so quick and easy to read. So I gave it 5 stars because it was that good of a book. So anyways, that is for October, and now for November, this is what I'm going to be reading. So I'm going to be reading for the Gilmore Girls Readathon, and this readathon is basically what jump-started my love for books again and got me introduced to BookTube. And so I feel like I need to continue my tradition with this readathon, because the first year that I found out about it, once I found out about BookTube, it was already like I think the week or 2 weeks after the readathon had happened. And so I was like, okay, well next year if they do it, I'm going to have to participate in this readathon. But that's what basically got me introduced to the BookTube world. And so this year I am going to be reading a couple of books for it. I have my TBR, my phone. There's a series of books. There's 3 of them in the series. So there's these 2 and then this one. And this series is one of my absolute favorite series I've ever read. But what's crazy is that I bought this the first book of the series, no, the first 2 books of the series, and because the third one hadn't come out yet, and I never read them. It took me months to read them, and I finally picked one up, and then when I started reading it, I couldn't like comprehend what was going on in the book because there was way too many characters. Like the girl lives with like 7 different siblings, and like you like get to know each individual sibling, and there's just too many people at once for a second. And I think my mindset then was like I couldn't keep up with everybody, so I just stopped reading it, I think. And then I picked it back up, I think last fall, and I fell in love with this series. It is so cute. It is very much Gilmore Girls, so it fits with the vibe of the readathon. It is set in a cozy, quaint little town, basically like Stars Hollow. And there is maple leaf festivals. There is a mystery to it. It's like a cozy mystery. It kind of also gives me like Riverdale vibes in a way because of the maple farm, and just like a whole bunch of like just happiness in a book, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a lot of like full mystery like within the house and like within the town, and a lot of like stuff happens with all the people in the town and things. So it is a really fun read, and I'm planning on rereading it because I haven't read it since last year, and I've been wanting to reread it. This one is for the small town vibes, but all 3 of them count for that. Yours Truly is for the family drama because there is, it's like all of them kind of have family drama to them, but I'm pretty sure this is the one with it has a maple leaf on the, you can't really see it in here, but there's like a little leaf on the top of the barn, and there's like a whole town drama more than family drama, but there is a little family drama dynamic into all the books pretty much. There is like a whole situation where the town is like fighting over who gets to run the Maple Festival and things like that. And then I'm also reading it for the fall/winter vibes. And I don't have a book for the complicated love interest, so if anybody has recommendations for that one, then I definitely would like to know your recommendations for it, because I don't have one for that. I may just not even read something for that one, but I'm not sure. And then for the Asian representation, I am going to be reading 3 Keys, which is the second book of the Front Desk series, and I read the first one a couple of months ago, and it was such a cute book. I absolutely adored that book. And then the leaves on the cover, I'm going to be reading the final book of the series. And then for the buddy read, we have As Seen on TV, which is on the blurb on the front cover. It literally says Gilmore Girls, like it has Gilmore Girls vibes to it and stuff, and it's like a cute little like rom-com, like Hallmark vibe type of book. And so those are the books that I'm going to be reading for the readathon. And then for the month of November, I'm basically just going to go back to my fall TBR that I have on my iPad and basically just mood read books. I'm just going to pick a book out of a hat and read it, and just continue on that journey of trying to finish out all of my, finish all of my TBR of the fall time. And then in December, I don't really know quite what I'm going to do yet. I do have a couple of Christmas themed books that I want to read, but I might end up trying to read some of the other books that I still have left after the month is over. But that is pretty much all of what I'm going to be reading for this next month and what I read for October. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you had fun on this journey with me to posting a video every single day this week. And so make sure to follow me on, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And also follow me on Instagram, because I always am posting my reviews on books and just like my everyday life and things like that. I'll post photos of my cat and dog and just random things about my life sometimes. So make sure to follow me over there as well, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!